guys, welcome back. Today I'm doing a video that's a little bit different than I've ever done. I've never gotten on here on my YouTube channel and talking about my favorite sheer polishes. I have posted pictures on my Instagram of some of my favorites throughout the years, but I've never actually compiled a video and talked about them. So I'm gonna do that today. I picked my top 5 that I have that I love, and I think it's a perfect time. I've been seeing them floating around on Instagram. I've had a lot of you message me and ask me what my favorite ones were, and so I thought it'd be a good time to do it, especially since Valentine's Day is coming up and I think it's really fun to wear pink sheers this time of year. I don't have a sheer on my nails. I probably should. As I was looking through the sheers in my Essie Gel Couture line, I came across this polish. It's called It Pearl, and this is what I'm wearing on my nails today. I fell in love with this one a couple years ago and haven't put it on for a while, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna pull that out because I love it. It's kind of like a purple lavender nude shade. It's really nice, and I did use this top coat with it just for those who are curious. I use this about 90% of the time when I use these Essie polishes, and I will apply it about halfway through my mani, so like day 4 or 5 I'll do another layer of top coat, and it can make it last like 8 to 10 days. So I love the Essie Gel Couture line, and this one's one of my favorites, and it has been for a long time. Beyond Polish does not have it. It's sold out, but I noticed that there are a few still left on Amazon, so if you want it, I'd probably snag it. I'll put a link to that down below. On my lips, I am wearing this. I talked about this on Instagram. This is the Dior Lip Glow Oil in Cherry, and I just love the little hint of pink that it gives my lips. It's awesome. People have been asking how long it lasts. It doesn't last very long, of course, because it's an oil, but it makes my lips nice and moisturized. I would say I get a couple hours wear out of it, but obviously it's not going to be like a long lasting lipstick, but I love it. I'm gonna definitely pick up a few more colors. Love it. Now I did narrow it down to just pink sheers. There are some other sheers that I love that you're gonna ask me about, like Funny Bunny and Bubble Bath and Ballet Slippers. Ballet Slippers is pink, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But Bubble Bath is a little more of a peachy nude, I would say, and then Funny Bunny is a white sheer. So today I'm just talking about specifically pinks. Okay, before I show you my 5 favorite polishes, we're going to talk about a few things. I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks for applying sheer polishes. First things first, when you are applying a sheer polish, you need to be patient because it is going to take quite a bit of time. You're going to want to wait longer between layers for it to dry, and you're going to have to do quite a few layers. So that is the first thing. Just be patient. Sit down and watch a movie or something when you're doing it and just relax and enjoy the process. There's a few things I want to talk about. We're going to talk about the application. I'm going to talk about preventing bubbles, and I'm going to talk about top coat with them too. So with your application, the angle of your brush is very important. So you're going to want your brush to be at almost a parallel position to your nail. So not completely parallel because that can be hard to brush, but you're going to want to make sure that it is almost parallel. If you apply it perpendicular, you're going to drag some of the lower layers, and at the base you're going to have these drags, and it's not going to be good. And the angle of the brush is very important when applying any polish, but especially when you're applying sheers. Okay, another thing I want to talk about is floating the brush. So with sheers you have to be a little bit more careful. I do tend to float the brush a lot when I'm using any nail polishes, but with sheers you don't want to float it too much, because if you float too much you can get bubbles. So you want to make sure the pressure you're applying is just right, and that might sound a little intimidating, but if you do it too hard, you're not going to make the polish be even. If you're pressing too hard, and if you're doing too light of a floating coat, you can get some bubblings. You'll just learn as you do it, like the perfect amount of pressure to do, but you want to really deliberately think about that. Okay, so I'm going to show you here how I'm applying this, and I'm using Essie Mademoiselle as an example because this one just really applies so nicely. So like I said, you're going to want to apply it deliberately and intentionally. I like to do that with any polish, but with sheers I like to do it super intentionally and deliberately, just so that it applies nicely. So you want to do layers that are more thin and not thick, and then you're going to let that dry 3 to 5 minutes between each coat. I know, drying time is really important, and that will also prevent bubbling as well. So you're going to come in with that second layer, and as you can see, I'm applying a good amount of pressure. If I see any bubbles, because once in a while you will get one, just go over that one more time and try not to go over the polish with too many brush strokes. You want to stick to 3 or 4, possibly 5 if you need to get rid of a bubble, but after that you're going to leave it alone. Float it a little bit so that it's even, but not too much that you're leaving thick amounts of polish in different spots. Sometimes sometimes those spots don't dry as well, and so they can get drug with the next layer that you apply because they're not completely dried through. So like I said, it just takes a little bit of time to apply sheer polishes, so just be patient. And obviously you're going to want to do some cleanup after you're done to kind of shape around the base of the nail. That is really what's going to make your manicure look even more professional. Just make sure that you're doing that when it has dried at least, I would say, 10 minutes after your last coat, because if it's a little thicker and you're going in there with an acetone and a little cleanup brush, you can push the entire edge of polish over, and you have to be really careful about how you're doing that. And so I'm going to show you how to do that in a little video here, so that's really helpful for you guys, hopefully. Just so you guys know, I do have a video on how I paint my nails. It's really helpful, that kind of goes more in depth about that, and I will put a link to it down below so you guys can see it, because I get asked about that all the time as well, so I'll include that video down below. And another thing too with shears, since you have so many layers that you have built up that aren't completely dry, you are going to definitely want a fast drying top coat that works. And obviously I'm going to talk about my favorite one. It's Glisten and Glow Top Coat. It's the one I use the majority of the time. It's such a good polish and it looks gel-like, so it's perfect for these shears because it is going to look more gel-like. That one dries really fast. It's kind of plump looking. It's just going to make it really nice and it's going to last. Also, I didn't show this in the video, but you're going to want to cap the top on the coat before the last coat. That's just the way I like to do it with shears. Sometimes I don't do that with regular polish, but with shears I like to make sure that last coat I'm really smoothing things out, because you can really notice some of those imperfections. And then with your top coat, you're obviously going to want to cap the top as well. Not too thick. With shears, I think I would probably choose the Glisten and Glow over this one, just because I want it to have that more gel-like look, and I know it's going to dry super fast. This one's super fast drying too, but with shears, I feel like I just want to use Glisten and Glow. So you're going to have all those layers, but you're going to try not to get it too thick, so you're doing like 3 or 4 thin layers, and I definitely prefer 4. You definitely want to make sure you're letting that dry. Usually with my Glisten and Glow top coat, after I painted my nails, I give it a good 15-20 minutes, but I'm still kind of careful about hitting hard objects with my nails, but they're pretty much dry. With shears, I think you're going to have to wait at least 30-45 minutes to make sure they're pretty good, and then still be a little careful hitting your nails on hard objects, because you don't want all that hard work to get messed up, but it's really going to dry pretty fast. One more thing I want to talk about with shears before I talk about my favorite ones is you don't expect them to have the longevity that you have with regular nail lacquer. I'm just saying, they don't last as long because they're built up a little bit more, and sometimes they'll peel. Sometimes, since they're light and sheer, you'll get like the color of your jeans on them. I'd expect a good 3 or 4 days out of them, but just know they're really not going to last you 2 weeks. I mean, a lot of my favorites are these Essie Gel Couture. Those last on me for like 8 to 10 days. I can really get nice wear out of them, but with my shears, I really don't set my expectations that high for sheer polishes, just because I'm a little bit more realistic, and you're not going to get them to last that long. You can come in and maybe do another layer on top and another layer of top coat maybe halfway in between, and that can maybe extend it for a few more days, but don't expect it to last super, super long. Okay, so hopefully those tips were helpful and they didn't scare you. I want you to know that you can do this. If you haven't tried it and you're a little intimidated, just try it. It's going to take a little bit of practice, but you can totally do it. And shears are amazing. If you haven't tried them, I would say go ahead and try them. Okay, let's talk about my favorite ones. I'm doing this in a countdown. So I'm going to start with my 5th, which is my least favorite out of all of them, down to number 1, which is my favorite. So, but I like them all because they're my top 5. So just know that. So this is Fairy Tailor from the Essie Gel Couture line. I love the Essie Gel Couture line. It's one of my favorites. And the reason I love it is because their formula is great, they're long lasting, and the brush is just amazing. And so it makes the polishes just apply so nicely, which is going to make a huge difference when applying sheer polishes. I love this color. It's kind of a more pink nude, so it does lean a little bit more nude, and it probably is one of the most sheer that I have here. I think in all my pictures I did 4 coats for all of these, and I did single nail pictures because seriously it took me forever to film this, because letting them dry that much time in between each one and swatching each picture, I was like, no, I don't have time for that. I'm only going to do 1 nail. If I do have pictures of them that I've used previously, I'll kind of put them so you can see like a whole mani if I have it. it. I like this one, so I like to do 4 coats with this one, but that's just a personal preference. I don't like to see any nail line at all, and so I will definitely go for that extra 4th layer. This one does have a similar color tone to ballet slippers, which is really popular from the Essie mainline, but I feel like that one is a little bit more opaque than this one. I do find that one to be a little bit streaky and a little bit hard to work with, even though I still love it though. I will wear it and love it, but I do find it a little bit more streaky. This one applies very nice and evenly, but it is a little bit more sheer than that. But I do find that these are very similar in color tone. But I did not put ballet slippers in here just because of that reason. I do find it a little bit difficult, but I still love it. So don't get me wrong, it's a cult favorite, and if you have Essie, I can guarantee that you have it, but there's some in here that I obviously like more than that one, and this is one of them. The next one I have is Gossamer Garments, and this is also an Essie Gel Couture polish. As you can see, this one is more pink, and it's definitely a little more cool toned. It's cool toned, but yet it's still warm compared to these other ones that I'm going to talk about next. So I feel like it's a good balance between warm and cool. It's a little bit more opaque than Fairy Tailor, but obviously still sheer. And if you like warmer polishes on your skin tone, then I think you will really like this one. And it may even lean a little bit cool on you, which you might kind of like. So I did 4 coats for this one for the picture as well. I'm going to have these application swatches going as I'm talking about the polishes. Obviously, I like to do 4 coats on this one as well. I think that's pretty much my standard for all sheer polishes, but I do thin layers, and so this one just does really apply evenly on the nail. And of course the brush from the Essie Gel Couture line just really makes a huge difference. It's a little bit more sleek and refined than the regular mainline Essie brush, even though I like that one too. It's just a little bit more flat and feels a little bit more luxurious. And a little bit more consistent, I have to say too. Sometimes that Essie mainline, you can get a brush that's a little bit off compared to the other ones, and it's not as thick as that mainline brush either. So I love obviously the Gel Couture line for sheers. And then we have Strawberry Scone. So I'm going to show you compared to these two. So this one is even more cooler toned, and this has a little bit more white in the base as well. So it is going to show up a little bit more opaque. That also means that it does show up a little bit whiter on the nail and not as pink. Interesting, it's a little bit more of like a milky pink, and I love it. I love it when I want a milky pink. I feel like Olive & June does a really good job with their shears. I feel like they apply very evenly. Their brush, especially my brush for this one, has been just really great. I love it. Every time I apply it, I'm like, oh, this is really, really good. So I do 4 coats with this one as well. I think you probably could really get away with 3 and not see the nail line, but I just like to have a little bit more built up to have that contrast added to my skin, and applies just so nicely. I think you guys should probably get this one. I do have a code for Olive & June, and it's for first-time customers for Mani and Pedi system, 20% off. Then we have Mademoiselle, and this one is just so pretty. It's very, let's see, compared to this one, these are pretty much the same color tone. I feel like this one's cooler, but it has more white in the base. So this one is cooler toned pink, and the formula is just really consistent and creamy. It's definitely more opaque than like Fairy Tailor, but it is more sheer than that Olive & June Strawberry Scone. And I did 4 for this one as well. And it just, this is the one I used for my example in the beginning of how I applied it, just because it really does go on so nice. I love it. I don't know what else to say about it, but love this one so much. And then this one's my favorite. It's been my favorite ever since it came out, and it's just has quite a bit more pink in it. It shows up more pink when you do more layers, and that's why I especially like to build this one up to 4. It just goes on so good. It is perfect. I'll put a picture up here of me wearing it several years ago, but it's just been a favorite of mine for a long time, like I said. I will show you compared to these two. As you can see, it's even more cooler tone. You need it. Get it for yourself for Valentine's Day. You won't regret it if you love sheers. And this is a good one to try if you're first starting out because it applies so well, and it is from this Essie Gel Couture line. They just do a really, really good job. that. Let me know in the comments down below if you're gonna pick any of these up, and thanks so much for watching yet again. You guys are the best, and we'll see you next time.